United's downturn in form can be directly correlated with Christian Eriksen's injury against Reading in the FA Cup back in January, as without Eriksen in the side, United have lacked a player who can control the game from deep in midfield, provide ball progression and circulation from either the deep midfield position in front of Martinez and Varane, or dropping into a wide position in the back three. Eriksen was top level when it came to doing this, which can be seen in his FB Ref report, as when compared against every other Premier League midfielder in the league this season, he ranks in the mid 80th percentiles for his XG assisted, expected assists, key passes and passes into the final third as well, whereas Sabitzer, whilst a decent player, isn't at Eriksen's level, ranking in the 65th to the 70th percentile range for most of those metrics. But we can also see that Eriksen's ball carrying ability isn't at the same elite level, and so it's no wonder why the Frankie de Jong rumours won't die down, but I think Chelsea's Mateo Kovacic could be the perfect alternative. So right off the bat, Kovacic is 28, 29 at the start of next season, whereas de Jong will be 26 at the start of next season, so there is a 3-year age difference. But you certainly are paying for those years, with de Jong likely to cost around £75 million just for the transfer fee, and demand a wage package of probably around £20 million salary per year, whereas Kovacic would likely cost around £25 million I would imagine, with him having just 1 year left on his Chelsea contract, and on a significantly lower wage package of probably around £10 to £12 million per year as well. But whilst Kovacic is slightly older, he is going to cost £50 million less, and also earn around £10 million less a year, and to be honest, I don't think the drop off between the two is that big at all, as I think Kovacic is one of the most underrated players in world football. To me, Mateo Kovacic is a player who's about to come into his peak, as he's in his late 20s about to enter his early 30s, and we've seen this before with these types of creative deeper line midfielders such as Carrick, Scholes, Pirlo, Xabi Alonso and Xavi, that their all-round game actually improves as they get into their 30s, having a lot of experience and game intelligence, and now being able to control bigger games, and I think the same will happen with Kovacic. From his FB Ref report we can see that he's a very high volume, short and medium passer, and even though he does rank slightly lower around the 75th to 85th percentile range for his pass completion on those metrics, I think this is because he is constantly looking for a forward pass, rather than simply trying to keep possession, and this can be backed up by the fact that he ranks in the 97th percentile for his passes into the final third, and the 78th percentile for his passes into the penalty area, alongside sitting in the mid-90s for his overall progressive passes as well. But you can truly see just how good Kovacic is as a ball progressor when we look at his ball carrying metrics, and we see that he sits in the 65th and 85th percentile for his progressive carries and carries into the final third respectively, whilst also sitting in the 61st percentile for his successful take-ons. And so Kovacic is not just one of the best midfielders in the world at progressing the ball through his passes, but he can also do this through his carries and dribbles as well. In Ten Hag's midfield, Kovacic would slot in seamlessly right next to Casemiro, and would sit in a double pivot out of possession in Ten Hag's 4-2-3-1, but in possession Kovacic would drop as a single pivot, allowing Casemiro to push up and slightly wider, as Kovacic would become the side's regista, able to use his press resistance in the defensive third to work the ball out of pressure, which is exactly what Frankie de Jong would provide. But in the middle third, I think Kovacic is going to bring another level to United in terms of controlling the tempo of play and injecting pace into the attack by driving forward and taking players on, which Kovacic is phenomenal at doing. Defensively, he's certainly not the player you want as your deepest and most offensive in the midfield, so playing alongside the more industrious Casemiro would definitely suit Kovacic's game. He's not the greatest defensive-minded midfielder, but he's not a liability either, as seen by his tackle volume in his FB Ref report. But I also think that the Croatian's greater athleticism and physicality, in comparison to Christian Eriksen, makes Kovacic much better suited to playing that deeper lying midfield role out of possession. I also think that in the modern game at the top level, you need central midfielders who can progress the ball up the pitch at speed, and Kovacic can definitely do this. And combine this with his press resistance and progressive passing, and you have almost the complete modern day playmaker. And with him likely only costing a maximum of £30 million this summer, and coming into his peak years with at least another 4 or 5 left at the top level, whilst also having a few years of Premier League experience as well, I think Kovacic would be a fantastic signing for United. And so if Ten Hag and United can't get Frankie de Jong, I would say that Mateo Kovacic would be the perfect affordable alternative.